Genius Invokation TCG!
Genius Invocation has been out for almost a week now, and I have to admit that I can't stop playing it, and I don't think I will anytime soon. In this video, I will guide you through the game mechanics, tips, and at the end of the explanation, I will show you an example of the gameplay from what we have learned so far. This minigame is a 1 vs 1 trading card game, or TCG for short, where players take turns using upgrades, buffs and whatnot to clear the enemy sides of characters in order to emerge victorious. Let's start with the basics, in case you missed it in the gameplay tutorial. As the match begins, the game will determine which player starts first with the coin flip. You cannot change the result whether you like it or not. At the start of the round, you will be given 5 cards. Duplicates are possible. Whichever card or cards you don't like or think will not be of any use in this round, you can choose to put it back in your deck or draw another. You can only do this step once, so please select carefully. After this, we choose which character card we like to start with. The characters that are not selected will be considered to be on standby. Next will be the dice rolling phase. The game will roll 8 dices for you, and each face of the die represents an element. Just like in Genshin Impact, we have Cryo, Electro, Pyro, Anemo, Geo, Dendro and Hydro. The result of these rolls will represent the type of energy that you will hold for the round. Additionally, there is one more special element, the Omni element, which can be used to represent anything, which is the most useful ones to roll for.
Is this a foreshadowing of a new element?
There's also elemental reactions in this TCG, but we will get to that later. So, after rolling 8 dices, the game will display the elements that you have rolled for, and you can either confirm to hold or reroll the one you don't like one more time. And now the round starts with the player that won the coin flip. For the purpose of this demonstration, let's say you get to start first. We are now looking at the Genius Invocation table layout. Top is your opponent with their character cards, and the bottom is yours. Some special NPCs will have more than 3 character cards, or even just 1, but in a PvP setting, it's always 3 characters on each side. At the top right hand side, we have the dice that we have rolled for, but no one knows what it is called, so for the purpose of this video, I will refer to it as the energy tokens. It is usually 8 in the first round. You will be looking at this side a lot. In the left center, we can also peep at how much energy our opponent have left with. You will also be looking at this a lot, and right smack in the middle of it is the end round button. You can press this to end the round. If your opponent did not end the round during their turn, they get to do whatever things that I will mention next. And if both players end their round, the current round ends and we move on to the next, where the phase repeats all over again. The first player who chooses to end the round gets to start first in the next round. Also, once the round ends, we get to draw 2 more cards which we do not have the choice to swap. The other side we will see is the top right and bottom left here, which indicates any kind of support cards we and the opponent have activated. We can only have 4 support cards at any time. Finally, we have the top right and bottom right for any summons we have. We'll get to this later. Okay, so before we begin to do anything, let's break the battle round into phases. At first we have the start of the round, and then if you are in round 2 or above, you get to draw 2 cards, and then we move on to the roll phase. And finally we go to the action phase, which we will get to next. Each player then takes turn during the action phase until both players end their round. We are now into the action phase. Here at the very bottom center, we have our upgrade cards that we are holding on to. Okay, so now we have to decide what to do with our character that we chose to start with. We may want to upgrade using upgrade cards, or skip the upgrade steps and either switch to another character or move right away into the combat phase. We also can decide to just end the round after choosing whether to use our cards or no. There are a lot of different functions in the upgrade cards. Some buffs your character damage, some helps you to reroll your energy or draw cards and whatnot. Most of it requires you to spend your energies indicated by the top left hand side of the card here. The number indicates the number of energy required and the color represents the element. However, there are also black and white colored indicator. Black means that you can use any element, while white means you have to use the same set of element to use that card. 0 is, well, free. You can also use as much cards as you want, but be wary of the energy cost. And some cards activate your character and move it straight away into the combat phase, which means you cannot use any more upgrades this turn as the upgrade step is already over. If you use any support cards, it will go into this section here. Some last forever, but some are indicated by how many turns or usage it lasts for. Now we move to the combat phase. Look at the bottom right side corner here. This displays whatever skill set your chosen character can do. Below each of the skills are also the energy required to use that specific skill, similar to the upgrade cards. Starting from the left, we have the normal attack, which most character will do physical damage and the rest of it is usually elemental attacks. The rightmost side of the skill set here is the character's burst, which can only be used when the energy bar is full. In order to fill up that bar, you will need to use an attack which grants you 1 after every attack. Some upgrade cards will grant you energy too. Once you get it to full, you can then use that character's burst attack. Using an elemental attack will apply that element into the enemy card. And talking about attacking, you can only attack the character that the opponent have selected at the start of the game. Same goes to you. They can only attack the character that you have selected. Some type of attack from specific characters do a spill damage, usually doing the most on the target character and lesser on the spill. You can also do a spill damage from certain elemental reactions, so let's move to that. As what we have learned so far, you can apply a specific element to the target opponent's character by doing an elemental skill attack. If we apply a different element on top of that, an elemental reaction occurs. Once reaction occurs, the elements applied will be removed. Sometimes it deals extra damage, sometimes it swirls and whatnot. To make it simple, I am going to separate the reactions into categories. In category 1, we have the spill damage, or what they call a piercing damage. Superconduct, which is cryo plus electro, and electro charged, which is hydro plus electro, will deal 1 piercing damage to the characters on standby. On top of that, it deals 1 additional damage to the target character. In category 2, we have Vaporize, a reaction from hydro and pyro, and Melt, a reaction from cryo and pyro. There's also another reaction that do extra stuff, Overloaded, which is electro plus pyro. On top of dealing 2 extra damage, if the reaction occurs on the target character, it will force swap the opponent's character to the next one available. Category 3, we have Dendro reactions. Quicken from Dendro plus electro deals 1 extra damage and adds a catalyzing field to your side. Any kind of Dendro or Electro attack will deal 1 additional damage, and this effect lasts for 3 usages. And then we have Burning, a Dendro plus Pyro reaction, 1 additional damage, and also summons a Burning Flame, which will also deal 1 Pyro damage to a target character at the end of the turn, meaning that the Pyro damage can react with elements too. The last Dendro reaction that we have is Bloom reaction, coming from Dendro plus Hydro. It creates a Dendro core that when an Electro or Pyro attack is applied, an additional 2 damage will be dealt. it only have one usage. In category 4 we have Frozen, which is Cryo plus Hydro reaction. Frozen enemies cannot do any skills until the end of round. Additionally, any physical or pyro attack will deal an additional 2 damage and remove the frozen status. Category 5 we have Crystallize, coming from Geo and any other elements except Dendro and Anemo. It deals 1 additional non-elemental damage and also grants 1 shield points into your active character for a maximum of 2 shield points. Finally, in category 6 we have Swirl, coming from Anemo and any other elements except Dendro and Geo, dealing 1 additional damage to the character and 1 damage to the characters on standby, applying the swirled element into them. Okay, so we have now fully grasped the basic understanding of the game. Let's take a look at an example match. As the battle begins, the coin flips to our opponent's side, so they get to start first. Then we get to draw 5 cards, but we like all of them, so we will not withdraw any. Right after this, we select Kerching as our active character to start the game with. The opponent gets to do the same. Since they won the coin flip, they get to start first. Now we move to the roll phase and we get 1 Omni element and others that we don't need, as Kerching is an electro character, so let's reroll the rest. But sadly, we still did not get any electro dices. Nothing we can do about that for now. Here comes the action phase. The opponent decides not to use any upgrade cards and they move into combat with Fischl's elemental skills, and it summons Oz on their side. Oz will deal 1 electro damage at the end of the round, so we have to keep that in mind. And now it's our turn. Since Timmy costs 0 energy, we will just use that card and also Favonius Cathedral for 2 energy of the same element. Favonius Cathedral will heal our active character for 2 HP at the end of the round, so that will help our character tank a bit of damage. Since we want to use Kerching's elemental skills this turn, we need 3 electro element. But fortunately, we have the best companion card, which converts 2 energy that is of no use to us into 2 Omni element. And now we get to use Kerching's elemental skill, which also gives us an additional card that let us do quick swap back to Kerching when we need her. But we need 3 electro energy to use it though, so keep that in mind. The cycle repeats and repeats until both of us ends our round, usually when we have no energies to spend on. So the current round ends and the opponent have 2 summons on their side that deals electro and hydro damage to us. An electro charge reaction occurs and we take 1 additional damage and 1 piercing damage to our characters on standby. The next round starts and both players get to draw 2 more cards. Since the opponent ended their round previously, they get to start first this round too. We go to the roll phase and repeat the action phase all over again until we or the opponent loses all characters on the field. In this match, our opponent decides to concede as they do not have much to do in this round, so victory is ours!